To start the centerpiece, you will need a designer bowl to hold the floral foam. You take the floral foam and you cut it about a third of the way. You then soak it in water with flower food, and then you stick the candle holders in it. For this particular centerpiece, we're using 2 candle holders, so it will look something like this. You don't need to tape it because of the pegs on the bottom. To start off, we're using leather leaf. We put it in at a slight upward angle, and we're going to start by doing 1 on each side. It is important to note that this particular centerpiece is 20 inches wide, and this is for a $50 to $60 value. It should be this large. After the sides, you go ahead and do the top and bottom. The top and bottom length should be around 16 inches. Once you have the what I call north, south, east, west done, you just fill in the spots with more leather leaf. Try to make the shape of the centerpiece like an oval. If it's not exact, that's okay. For the next layer, we're going to be using variegated pit. Variegated pit is great to use because most of the time the branches are straight and strong. It also has multiple branches on each stem. Next layer, we're going to be using 2 types of greenery. First, we're going to put leather leaf just on the sides. We're also putting this in at a sort of upward angle, not as harsh as the bottom layer because we want it to lay flat against the pit that's below it. You can trim up the sides while it is on the centerpiece. We're also going to be using tree fern. Tree fern is great to use because it gives the centerpiece texture and takes up a lot of space at the same time. You can trim the tree fern up too. For this particular arrangement, we're using 3 types of greenery to show how to use each one separately. In a regular centerpiece, you don't have to use this much unless you choose to. Leather leaf is great to use because of the multiple branches on each stem. These are perfect size and you often don't have to cut them down. In the centerpiece, you can add more greenery. A few empty places are alright because we will be adding flowers over. For the top of the centerpiece, we will be using the pit. This is because the greenery is supposed to look like a turtle shell, so it should be long, not too tall, and at the same time it should be circular at the top. When using the pit, it is important to cover the candle holders so at the end of the arrangement we cannot see them at all. Now, to start with the flowers. The first type of flower we will be adding is the rose. When cutting the stem, we want it to be short and pointy at the end so it will go into the floral foam more easily. Remember, you can always cut the stem down, but you can't make it longer. With the roses, we will be putting them on the sides and the top and the bottom. You can trim the greenery around the rose or any type of flower so you can see it better. The rose may look small right now, it will open up to take up a lot more space. This is important to remember, especially at the end when we are adding filler. Here you can see that when the centerpiece is picked up and moved, the flowers do not budge at all. Now to move on to the lilies. Right now, the lilies are closed. Each stem of the lilies has separate buds. You can cut these off to stick in the centerpiece. Lilies are great to use at the top of the arrangement because when they bloom open, they will cover the candles very well. Next, we will be using carnations. Carnations take up a lot of space, not as much as the lilies, but they are very good to use in this type of arrangement. When cutting the carnation down, we need to cut the stem short because it is used at the top of the centerpiece and we don't want it to look too long. Next, we will be adding blue delphinium. We will be adding this in the corners of the oasis down toward the bottom. Right now the buds are not fully opened, but when they are open, they will be big. Again, we cut it to a point and we stick it in the floral foam. Once the buds open up, it will look even more full. Be careful when adding new flowers in that if you hit a stem of another flower already in there that you don't push too hard. This could cause the stem to break. If this happens, you must cut the flower at the break or above. This one is too short to use there, so I can either use it in a different place or just not use it at all. I chose not to use this one at all, so I'm going to grab a new delphinium. Now we will use the iris. Right now the iris is not bloomed, but when it is, it will look that big, or sometimes it can even bloom bigger. This has a thick stem, so it is hard to get into the oasis. Just remember to put it at a point and push hard, but not too hard because it could cause the stem to break. The last step of the centerpiece is to add the filler. For the centerpiece, we will be using white wax flower, and we just stick it wherever we see any bare spots, wherever there's too much greenery. We will also be using cassia. Cassia is a light purple filler, but against the blue it looks very nice. Just place the filler wherever you see it should go, and try to remember to cover the stems. After adding all the filler and the candles, the centerpiece looks like this. Thank you for watching from all of us at Berkeley Flowers in Bluffton, South Carolina.